people that waited in line just to share this experience of Venom, Candyman, Night of the Living Dead, The Rock, Final Destination. But I want you to know you are now entering the
Cinema
Chop Shop with a top and a pop pop pop. Boom boom bop bop bop.
The Cinema Chop Shop.
What's going on, everybody? It's Davey from the 80s, and you are now entering the Cinema Chop Shop, so park your ass right there. And while you're there, don't forget to hit the like, the share, the subscribe button. Also, if you check the link below, you'll see a Patreon account. If you click it, you can become a member. All you got to do is try to recommend movies and music and trailers for me to react to, so click the link. Now, with that being said, we're here to review a Blumhouse new film titled Imaginary. This movie is directed by Jeff Wadlow, and he has made Cry Wolf, Never Back Down, Kick-Ass 2. Let's see what else. Truth or Dare, Fantasy Island, and this film, Imaginary. So, the only film on that list, I did like Never Back Down. I mean, it's a different type of film. I also did like Cry Wolf. It was a different type of film back then, but that's neither here nor there. So, let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty, shall we? Imaginary follows this woman who's, I guess, like a stepmother, and she's kind of bringing in her stepchildren into a house that she once grew up in. She also herself has like a weird, strange kind of mysterious background, mysterious childhood. And now things that are happening in her childhood are starting to surface, and they're also starting to affect the children that she's brought into the house. That's all I'm going to say. This movie is very synonymous with Chauncey the Bear, right? So you have this bear that's been advertised everywhere. Me and my wife had the privilege of going to the pop-up, which was like kind of like an interactive, cool little short maze. It was free. It was in Los Angeles. It was really, really fun. So it got me personally and her hype for the movie. Now, did the hype live up to it? We shall see. Now, here's my biggest gripe with this movie. My biggest gripe with this movie is that, honestly, it was a little bit of a letdown. And the reason why it was a letdown is because it had something very interesting, right? This isn't like a super duper original story. This is ideas and concepts that we've seen in film from the beginning of time. Like, we've seen this concept before. It's not some new concept. But it had an opportunity to do something really cool and really different, and they dropped the ball. Right. And the biggest thing is, I'm not really the person that's always like bitching and moaning about PG-13 horror movies, but this is definitely one of those movies that was hurt by the PG-13 rating. If this movie was able to kind of like bulk it up a little bit and maybe kind of, bloody it up and make it a little bit darker, this movie definitely would have been 100 times better. Honestly, they should have just leaned more into the dark elements of this movie, and they relied too much on jump scares, and it just relied too much of trying to do atmospheric horror. And I can see that movie probably scaring little kids and teenagers probably, but people like that are used to this stuff, people that are very familiar with this genre, they're not going to fall for that shit. Like, it had an opportunity to do something really, really interesting, and they just dropped the ball. This movie could have been super dark, super creative with it, and it just really fell flat. And also, some of the characters, the dialogue in this movie, the dialogue that they decided to have within this movie, it seemed too comedic, right? I'm not trying to see a horror movie with one-liners and you're trying to like seriously scare me, I will give it this much. The actors in the movie were decent. I mean, you had a lot of tropey characters, the teenage rebellious daughter that doesn't want to listen to the new stepmother. And you got the little girl that's looking for a new mommy figure, and she's really accepting of it. And the little girl in the movie, the one that's very close with Chauncey, her name's Allie. She did a really good job in this movie. She did a really good job at being creepy. And then some of the practical effects in this movie were actually really cool too. And some of the set designs were really cool. Like, there's this set design at the end of the movie. I don't want to really give it away, but they kind of created like a world. And you can tell that a lot of it was like a physical set. It wasn't really CGI. Maybe some of the stuff was enhanced with CGI, but definitely you could tell that this world was built from practical. You know, it was a physical model with lighting and everything. And I thought that was a really cool little element to it. Some of the stuff kind of reminded me of low key of like Beetlejuice or just a 80s, 90s or 80s movie, which was really cool. But that's what I'm saying. This movie had potential to do something really cool and it dropped the ball. Now, I'm not going to get into the too much detail about it, but I will say this without a doubt. They dropped the ball on the character, right? So every movie has like this villain, right? And we always have if we have like some sort of like physical being and there's something attached to it, there's always the reveal of the thing that's attached to it, right? Like remember like when you're watching like Annabelle and then you get the demon that's attached to Annabelle, so on and so forth, right? Like we always have like a physical representation of the demon that's attached to whatever it is, right? And in this movie, the reveal was fucking whack, right? Like I thought that was one of the cheapest, most lamest designs for a character I've ever seen in my life. Blumhouse really went low budget with that shit. Like I was like, what in the hell is that? Like when you see it in the shadows, you're like, all right, cool. Like I could see it. Like that's pretty cool. That's pretty tight. All right, cool. I like it. But once that motherfucker stepped out of the shadows, ugh, it was like one of the most hideous looking designs I've ever seen in my life. So Blumhouse, you dropped the ball on that one. Also, there's like it's not really there's whatever. There's also like other kind of physical I don't it's like a blend of CGI, but whatever. The creatures that are featured in this movie, that's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to give away too much, but the creatures that are in this movie, the designs of those are also terrible, right? Whether it's the humanoid ones or whether it's the animalistic ones, those creatures' designs were very lackluster. And it really feels like I don't know what they were trying to do with this movie. It's like they had a really good idea, and I see the potential in that movie, but it's just that they didn't execute. This movie has zero blood almost. You have one character in the movie that has absolutely no purpose at all. It's revealed at the end of the movie, but the person wasn't even necessarily needed in the movie because when the people get to where they need to get to, they kind of do it on their own accord, or they were already on route to going that way. So this person wasn't really needed to do that. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly who I'm talking about and what I'm referring to. For everybody else, it's a code message. You ain't like you'll see it when you see it. But there's a character in this movie that's absolutely pointless, right? This character is pointless. And then again, we have these moments where characters are given like dialogue or a spotlight, and we're wondering why are you wasting time with this character? Like, there's literally one moment in the movie where the person goes like this and then says something and looks up, and there's like this upward camera angle, as if like it really felt corny, like it felt like a Willy Wonka movie or something. Like it felt like it should have been. It was really childish, and I just didn't. I don't understand the purpose. And then also, this person had the motive behind that person was freaking ridiculous. Like it made absolutely no sense, right? It was just dumb. And that's the problem with a lot of these characters in the movie. They were just thrown in kind of like to try to get characters to do things or try to have a backstory or try to like it's there was a lot of characters in here that didn't really need to be there. A lot of characters that didn't need to be there, and it felt kind of wasteful. Blumhouse really dropped the ball with this one because this really felt like a movie that had a purpose, it had potential, it could have been something really, really great. And instead, we had something that's really, really mediocre. You get what I'm saying? So here on the Cinema Chop Shop, we grade movies in three ways. Count them three ways. Either you get bodied and sent to the bowels of hell, and I'll tell you that this movie's basura, homie, or I give you a big fat meh, which means it's más o menos, mediocre, mid-grade, mid. Or I tell you that this movie is spared, which means it's fantastic. Drop whatever you're doing, go to the nearest cinema and go watch this movie. But I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a big fat meh.
Not quite my tempo.
Not impressed.
But it can be better.
Mediocre.
Meh. But The TV gave me the impression that...
We said meh. M-E-H. Meh.
Yeah, you heard it, folks. This movie is very, very mediocre, very mid, very meh. And the reason why is because, again, it's a cool concept. The actors and actresses in this movie did a fantastic job. And the set designs were really, really cool. You had a cool concept. You just couldn't execute it. And this is the problem with Blumhouse. Blumhouse has a lot of really cool ideas, and they just fall flat because they don't know how to just make a good horror movie. Like, it really just feels like they're just throwing shit out there, and it feels like they're targeting this teen audience in order to make money, because you want to make a movie that you could bring kids to and you could bring teenagers to, and then you could also kind of like entice the adult horror crowd, and they're going to make money because look what Megan did, right? That's exactly what Megan did, and made a bunch of money, right? But here we have this movie that tries to do exactly the same thing, but it's missing something. It's missing that iconic character. At least Megan had the stupid ass iconic dance, and she had a cool little design, and we can dig with that. You know, it was for like the little horror girls, like the little girl horror fans. Like, it's cool, you know, it's like the female version of Chucky minus the Tiffany doll. But this movie just couldn't do it at all. And although like Chauncey the Bear was cool in the movie, overall, the real Chauncey, that design was hideous. It was horrible. And I'm not saying hideous as in a good thing, because when we think of hideous and horrible, like in horror, we think of like, oh, that's a dope ass design. I mean, it's stupid, dumb as shit, pathetic, pointless, useless, idiotic, whatever. Like, we just gonna go down. We could go down the list. But these are some really, really stupid looking designs in this movie, and Blumhouse should be fucking ashamed of themselves. You guys need real writers to get on your team and stop trying to pump out these horror movies that you feel like are going to make a lot of money. It's just like it feels like a quick cash grab. Make something that's quality worthy. Stop just trying to put these dumbass scripts together. Like, it really felt like they just threw this shit in ChatGPT and they gave them a script real quick and they said, yeah, we're going to run with this. This is fucking horrible, bro. Like, I mean, not horrible. Like, the movie's not horrible, but it's horrible that Blumhouse is not really trying. You just merged with James Wan's Atomic Monster, and this is the bullshit that you give us? Come on, Blumhouse. Do better, homie. Anyway, that's my review. Let me know if you agree or disagree, whatever the case may be. Drop it a comment in the comment section down below. Tell me what you think about this movie. Tell me if you thought it was trash. Tell me if you thought it was cool. Tell me if you liked it. We could talk about it. Anyway, you are now exiting the Cinema Chop Shop. Hope you guys are a magnificent day, and adios, homies.
I want to play a game. Subscribe now. The choice is yours. You're now exiting the Cinema Chop Shop.